What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all taking care of yourself today, my good peoples. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, and comment, baby. And smash that dope bill for me, baby. You heard me? And keep God first, baby, over everything. So on this note, my good people, I'm going to let this video take off and I'm going to catch you at the end, baby. Let's go.
And they not. But the choices in life, you make them and you pay. And they gotta respect how I feel. My baby is gone. I will never see her again. I have to move on day by day, you know?
Ciara Cece Michelle Grimes was born on December 20th, 1999 to her parents, Erica Perez and Willie Grimes in Rochester, New York, which is located in Monroe County, northwest of New York City. As a baby, Ciara was one of the happiest, smiley babies one would come across, and this would be her permanent aura throughout the rest of her life. By all the accounts of her loved ones, growing up, Ciara was known to be charming, strongly opinionated, witty, a whole lot of sass, a good heart, and knew how to make the people around her happy. She loved both her parents dearly and was considered to be a daddy's girl. And as a teen, yes, Ciara loved a good party, as most teens around her age, but she had this drive and ambition that set her apart from the others. She worked at the fast food restaurant Wendy's for a little while, but her passion was for cosmetology. She used to do all her homegirls' hair and lashes. She was really good with dolling up the girls. Beautifying others was where her heart lied primarily. And another place where her heart lied was with her boyfriend, 17-year-old Jermaine Brown. Now, according to one of Ciara's friends and her sister Paris, Ciara and Jermaine had a little thing between them since about middle school, but it wasn't anything serious. It was more so like puppy love. However, fast forward to Ciara's senior year at Vanguard Collegiate High School, her and Jermaine had actually grown closer. Jermaine would come over all the time to Ciara's house, and her family didn't mind. They loved him. Her sister, her brother, her mom, they all said he was a nice guy. He was good to Ciara. He was pretty much part of their family. And that is until at about 12:30 a.m. on Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, police responded to multiple calls from neighbors about a girl found outside a home in the driveway of 204 Delamain Drive in Rochester, New York, laid out bleeding from a gunshot wound that appeared to have just been in her arm, but it had actually penetrated through her armpit and traveled into her chest cavity. A young woman by the name of Haley Winters was outside in the driveway with the victim, holding her, waiting for help to arrive. The victim was 18-year-old Ciara Grimes. She was rushed off in an ambulance to Strong Memorial Hospital. Shortly after Ciara was taken to the hospital, police were at the home looking to question the occupants on what happened to see if they can provide any details as to how this all transpired and to look for evidence. However, the people in the home basically told police to off and get a search warrant if they wanted to come in and question them. So that's exactly what they did. They put in for a search warrant, but as they were waiting, they received the terrible news that Ciara unfortunately didn't make it. She succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced deceased at 1:42 a.m. Once the search warrant was retrieved, police cars and the SWAT team surrounded the home. When they entered the home, they saw there were 3 adults and a baby inside, and the adults surrendered without a fight. All the adults were taken into police vehicles and driven to a safety building where they could be questioned. A vigil for Ciara was held in her honor at Pulaski Park, where everyone released balloons into the sky in Ciara's memory. Now, remember earlier I mentioned the young lady Haley who was with Ciara when police responded to the 911 calls? Well, it turns out that she played a part in trying to cover up what happened to Ciara, because initially she lied to police about what happened. According to detectives, she told them that she didn't know Ciara and she just so happened to see Ciara stumbling down the street and then fall. So she figured Ciara needed help. However, that wasn't the case, apparently. It was said that Haley knew exactly what happened to Ciara and just didn't want to say anything at that time. She wasn't the only one trying to keep quiet, though. There was another boy named Deshaun Sweet who was present at the crime scene as well, and he also denied knowing anything. Police have viewed surveillance from neighbors across the street, and they were able to see several people carrying Ciara out of the house and dumping her on the side of the driveway. The video was clear enough for them to be able to identify Haley, Deshaun, and two other young women by the names Tamika and Tamara, and one more person who they hadn't seen outside of the house and wasn't able to identify just by looking at them. So detectives began to question all the people they knew of who were in that house and let them know directly that the surveillance had been viewed and they were able to identify almost all the persons that carried Ciara out of that house, and that they knew Ciara was shot inside of the home. And this was done in an attempt to get the witnesses talking, since everyone was acting like church mice. But the only person who ended up cooperating after several hours of questioning was Haley. Haley told detectives that she and Ciara had gone to the house because Ciara wanted to meet a boy there. But Haley said Ciara never told her who the boy was, but she went with her anyway. She says when they got to the house, Ciara went into a back bedroom and Haley had gone into the bathroom. She said when she came back out the bathroom, she heard a bunch of commotion near the front door and saw Deshaun, Tamika, and Tamara standing over Ciara, tapping her and yelling. She said when she got a closer look, she could see that Ciara was laid out with blood leaking from her body. So they all carried Ciara out of the house and they placed her in the driveway. She said the others told her to stay with Ciara and watch over her as they went back into the house. And at this point, it's assumed that someone from the house was one of the people who called 911. Detectives felt like Haley may have still been trying to cover up for someone because she only mentioned 3 other people in that house, but there were clearly 4 other people in the surveillance tape. Up until this point, Haley still wasn't aware that Ciara was deceased, but detectives ended up telling her the news in an attempt to make her crack and spill everything she knew. But Haley was adamant in her stance that she had no more information for them, so the detectives let up on questioning her for a little while. Now, police had waited more than 7 hours after Ciara's demise to even notify her family because they said they wanted to try and gather as much information as possible before even bearing the bad news, which, of course, as you can imagine, was very upsetting for Ciara's loved ones when they found out. But in a wild turn of events, her family was actually the ones who provided the most clarity. They told detectives that if anyone was responsible for Ciara's demise, it would definitely have been none other than her boyfriend Jermaine. Now, this is the first time detectives had heard of Jermaine throughout this whole thing, and they were now able to put a name to the face of the 4th person they saw in that surveillance video. You see, Ciara was in an abusive relationship with Jermaine. However, she didn't tell any of her loved ones or family about it for a long time because she was embarrassed. She didn't want them to know what was going on because she was always the one who lifted other people's spirits. She was the one that always lightened the mood, and she wanted to be seen as being strong and independent and didn't want anyone worrying about her. So she hid her pain behind her joy. Until one day, according to Ciara's mom, Erica, the mailman had approached her and told her how he saw Ciara getting beat up by Jermaine just over on the next block from where they lived. You see, in the beginning of this story, I told y'all how much of a joy Jermaine was to Ciara and her family. So much so that they accepted him as one of their own. But after a year into their union, Jermaine started going down the wrong path. He was selling drugs, he was getting into gang activity, and he was getting locked up. And according to Erica, anytime Jermaine found himself in jail, Ciara would make sure she was at every visit, proving her love to him by any means. But Jermaine would just repay her with disloyalty and betrayal by cheating on her and beating on her. For a long while, Ciara's family tried so hard to get her away from Jermaine, but she just wouldn't leave him alone. Even one of her own friends said that they believed that Ciara just might have loved Jermaine more than she loved herself. And according to her sister Paris, Ciara would even come up with excuses for Jermaine, telling them how he wasn't loved correctly growing up, so he just lashed out at her sometimes, but she was willing to work through it with him. At one point, Erica even tried to ban Ciara from ever seeing Jermaine again, because one day when she had came home, Jermaine was in the house with Ciara when he wasn't supposed to be there. So in the midst of Erica telling Ciara that he had to leave, she noticed that Ciara had this big frumpy green hat on her head, and it looked like she was trying to hide something. You know, moms, we always notice anything and everything on our children. So Erica pulled the hat off her head, and sure enough, Ciara's entire forehead was filled with lumps, bruises, and she even had a gash on her head. Erica said she snatched Jermaine up so hard that she dang near strangled him, but he didn't care. In fact, he was real cocky about it. Erica told him she was going to call the cops on him, and he told her, go ahead and call, but she just going to be with me regardless. And all of this tension between Ciara's family and Jermaine just drew her closer to him, so much so that she distanced herself from her own family for a while. But one night, on April 14th, 2018, Ciara had called her mother crying hysterically because Jermaine had hit her in the face with a 2x4. So of course, Erica had come rushing to her daughter's aid and brought her daughter to the hospital. At this point, Ciara was done with him. She was so hurt, she just couldn't understand why Jermaine treated her the way that he did. But she wasn't going to allow it anymore. Jermaine had been arrested for the incident and was arraigned on May 3rd for a misdemeanor third-degree assault charge. Ciara was able to receive an order of protection on May 5th, 2018. She was over it, over his abusive behavior, his cheating, his troublesome ways, and she just wanted to move on with her life. Now, as police were doing their investigations further into Jermaine's background, they found out that his most recent listed address was the home where everything happened. What's even more wild is, come to find out, the girls Tamika and Tamara that helped remove Ciara's body out of the home were Jermaine's older sisters. So them not speaking to detectives about what really happened is obviously a direct result of their relation to Jermaine. At this point, police realize they won't be getting any answers from the sisters at all, so they take another crack at questioning Haley again. And so this time they presented all the information to Haley with the hopes that she'll finally come clean about what she witnessed the moment Ciara was murdered. That's when Haley explained to the detectives that early in the afternoon of May 8th, Ciara had met up with Jermaine at a park, despite having the order of protection in place, because she wanted to see him. She missed him and she wanted to talk to him. Being that the conversation went so well, she had agreed to meet Jermaine at his home later that night. So at about 11:30 p.m., Haley and Ciara got to the house. They go upstairs in the bedroom with Jermaine and Deshawn, and that's when Jermaine starts showing off a 25 caliber semi-automatic. Haley said that Ciara had asked if she could look at it, so Jermaine removed the magazine from the firearm, but instead of handing it to her, he pressed it up against her arm, and then he pulled the trigger and he shot Ciara. This is when Ciara comes stumbling out of the room and heads towards the front door, where everybody else was running behind her and they were following her, but then she collapsed, and that's when, instead of doing right by Ciara, everyone pretty much just left her for dead except Haley. She also told detectives that Jermaine fled the scene due to his criminal history, most significantly his DV history with Ciara. Now, where the story gets even murkier is whether or not Jermaine actually intended on harming Ciara, or was he just goofing around and, without realizing the one bullet was in the head, accidentally wounding Ciara. Well, Jermaine, of course, was not about to admit that he did this intentionally. Initially, police weren't able to locate Jermaine, but on Tuesday, May 15, 2018, he had showed up to court for an unrelated case that had nothing to do with Ciara. But once he showed up, he was quickly apprehended by police on the spot. An arraignment for Jermaine was held the next day at Rochester City Court, where tensions flared between both Ciara's family and Jermaine's family. While Ciara's family was in the courtroom seeking justice and grieving their loved one, Jermaine's family's focus was on supporting Jermaine and making it very clear that they were standing behind him 10 toes down. They began expressing their love for Jermaine, shouting out to him how much they love him, which I connect they were being taunted, especially her mother Erica. According to ABC 13, the two families even exchanged some heated words with each other. Erica told the reporters outside the courtroom, "My baby is gone. I'll never see her again. I gotta move on day by day."
A safe haven to go to, someone to talk to, someone that's gonna help them, you know? I mean, these kids, they think they're grown and they not. But the choices in life, You make them and you pay them. Just like when you park at a bad parking spot, you gotta pay the ticket.
It looked like a lot of the family members had a hard time with how he came out.
I understand that, and that's their family. I have to respect how they feel, and they gotta respect how I feel. My baby is gone. I will never see her again. I have to move on day by day, you know.
That's it. Okay, cameras on his face. Come on, that's it for right now.
Jermaine pleaded not guilty to second-degree manslaughter, second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and aggravated criminal attempt, which are all considered felonies. The criminal contempt charge was a direct result of Jermaine violating the order of protection. The second-degree manslaughter, which alleges that Jermaine did act recklessly, however without the intent of causing harm or taking a life, came about because all the witnesses involved had the same story, that Jermaine never meant to actually hurt Ciara. Jermaine was remanded and cash bail or bond was set for $50,000. Of course, this upset Erica and her family because they felt like with all the history of DV between the couple and the way that everyone just left house side on the ground while Jermaine made his exit, that should be enough to charge him with murder. However, the DA told them had they gone for a murder charge, more than likely Jermaine wouldn't have faced any jail time because it would have been way too hard to prove. As for the witnesses, the DA did not bring any charges up against them. Erica definitely felt cheated. She felt like Ciara deserved more, and I agree. Ciara's funeral took place on May 18th, 2018 at the Faith Temple Apostolic Church in Rochester, New York. In October of 2018, Jermaine ended up pleading guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 2 to 6 years in state prison. As of today, it isn't clear if he's still incarcerated or has been released by now. Ciara's brother, Dewan, expressed his pain for losing his little sister, stating how all he does is cry when he thinks about his sister and how their family was already a small one, but now it's even smaller without Ciara. Now, Ciara's family stated they didn't want her memory to be that of a victim, and instead they want her memory to be a light for others. They want people to learn from her story and to take domestic violence more seriously. Familia, this is unfortunately another story of how domestic violence and abuse claim the life of another daughter, another sister, another human being. There's too many times where we've sat and discussed the demise of a beloved person because maybe they weren't in the mental space where they felt strong enough to leave, or like in this case, too embarrassed to even tell anyone what they were going through, or in other cases where they didn't even think they were worthy of better treatment. A lot of times in these cases, there were red flags wavering so bright, but they were ignored. I wish Ciara never continued to give Jermaine the time of day. She deserved so much better, so much more. She had tons of life left to live, and it was snubbed by a disrespectful little boy who took advantage of Ciara's heart. Truthfully, only him and his Most High knows what his true intentions were that night, but his history with the way he treated her will always leave those who hear this story to look.
All right, my good peoples. You know what I'm saying? Finna say this and finna get off, you feel me? Some of y'all young people, man, y'all need to look at certain videos, you know what I'm saying? Now, these friends, all along was friends, right? But they was covering up for that dude, man. They was covering up for that dude. So you tell me they was the friend to him and friend to her, but guess what though? Who they love the most? Who they favor the most? They favor the dude because they ain't wanna really snitch on the dude. You feel what I'm saying? So they did not really love that girl like that though. They probably were jealous of that girl. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gotta be careful saying who y'all friends is. Y'all friends, I'm gonna say it again. Y'all friends is y'all enemies. Won't you take a good look at your friend who you hang around with 24/7 all day sometime? Take a good look at your friend. Watch what they say to you. Watch what they do to you. Watch how they disrespect you in front of other people. That's how you gonna tell they type of character. Don't be blind just because y'all went to school together. because y'all hang out together or y'all thugging together. You feel what I'm saying? That ain't nothing when it come down to the love and the respect that they supposed to, both of y'all supposed to be giving each other the same love, the same respect, treat each other the same way. If you can't treat each other the same way, find out who your friend, y'all so-called who y'all friend really is, because the same friend can be hanging with you and your other friends, right? Just like this here. They favor that do more, and they favor that young lady, the one that lost their life. You feel me? Because he didn't want to take the blame that he had on put that gun to that little young girl and then pulled the trigger because she just wanted to see it. 9 times out of 10, did he know one was in the head? I think he did know one was in the head. You know what I'm saying? So take a good look at your friends, man. You know what I'm saying? Tell them how much they love you. See that for your own eyes. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Since y'all don't want to be told, since y'all don't want nobody to teach y'all, you know what I'm saying? You're going to figure out the long way. You feel me? Pay attention. Pay a close attention. So on this note, my good people, you know what I'm saying? That's the end. I'm going to scratch that. That's all I got for y'all. You know what I'm saying? But y'all come and let me know. You know what I'm saying? So on this note, my good people, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, and comment, baby. And smash that doorbell for me, baby. You heard me? And keep God first, baby, over everything. So on this note, my good people, I'm gone from y'all, baby. I'm gone.